Yes, my people, welcome back to another episode of the Where's My podcast. And today we're joined by another special guest, somebody who was easy to get on the pod in a good way.
So rude.
In a good way, do you know what I mean? She was proactive, responding to my DMs at proper times, you know what I mean? And someone that's keen to get her story out there and whatnot. And somebody that's willing to support, you know, podcasts and whatnot. But yeah, we're joined by Ruth Peterson. Ruth, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm actually really excited for this conversation, you know.
Why?
Because
tell me why.
Do you know what? That's a good segue because you may have seen, but in every episode, as soon as the episode starts, I basically just speak for like 30 seconds as to why I asked you, the guest, to come on the podcast, innit? And with you, obviously, I first heard about you from the drop.
Okay.
You know what I mean? From watching it. And I feel like the good thing about that show was that you were able to meet or hear about a lot of designers from other parts of the country that someone in London may not have heard of, for one. But you in particular, your personality shone through in ways that I don't think you kind of knew. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you were trying to be someone you're not, or you're trying to make yourself stand out. You were just being you, and that was enough to make you stand out. Do you know what I mean? So you were definitely like one of the first people I hit up, because I was like to myself, you know what, Ruth, one, I haven't even spoke about your fashion yet. I'm gonna get onto that. But you as a person, I thought, yeah, this is somebody I want to talk to. Do you know what I'm saying? Somebody I would feel comfortable talking to, for one. And then two, more importantly, bruv, your designs are sick. And I loved how the horror thing, I just found that really fascinating. I found it really, 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 really fascinating, and I don't know why. But I just
that's what you find. Horror is fascinating. That's what makes people want to watch it.
Yeah,
because it's the unknown.
Yeah,
Why is that though?
And you know, I think it was as well, Ruth. Your personality is quite juxtaposed to horror. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're just always smiling, laughing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't think this is a girl that her whole brand is inspired by her love for horror films. You know what I'm saying? Or horror as a genre. So yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on the pod, Ruth.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Ruth and I have been speaking from before, innit? So we've definitely broke the ice
before
and whatnot.
Exhausted all the topics.
Yeah, exactly. These lot couldn't get us to stop talking before we started. But yeah, Ruth, I think the best place to start is who you are. I'm sure they could probably tell by your accent where you come from. But yeah, tell us, where did all of this start?
Actually, I feel like... do you mean fashion started?
I mean... You can interpret that how you want.
Where did I start?
Yeah, where did you start?
21st of October 1992 is where I started. I am. I'm same day as Doja Cat, Kim Kardashian, Amber Rose, and Judge Judy, more importantly.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is. No. Are you a Libra as well?
Yeah, I'm a Libra. Yeah. October the 7th.
That's why we can't show.
Literally.
What was I going to say?
You were saying where you started, really.
Oh yeah. I think the earliest memory I had of doing fashion is I had a diary entry that I found from when I was like 11, and it just won. My horse had just won the Grand National, so I was buzzing. So I said I wrote a tenner, but then I signed it off with like, designed some clothes. Yo,
in the diary?
Kiss. Yeah. So I found the diary entry from when I was like 11, and I'd bought Christina Aguilera's Stripped album with the tenner I won from the Grand National.
How come you only won a tenner?
Because it was Monty's pass. I remember this, and basically I think his odds were like he had like really not
so
that
he was the
weak
super
odds.
Favorite.
He was one of the favourites, but then he ran again the year after, and I put him on again, and my dad went, he's not going to win. Like, he's not going to do anything. But he came third, and I won 130 quid on a syndicate, yeah.
Age 11? Age 12 this time?
Age 12 this time. I had like a 9-year winning streak, like every week. I think I'm quite psychic.
Yeah, you need to start doing my accumulators then.
Well, I did the lottery today.
Yeah, I saw your...
I've done it literally the last 4 times I've done it. I've won, but it's been 2 numbers.
Oh,
but
okay.
I still see that as a win.
Yeah, no, it is a win.
I'm a positive person.
You never know, fifth time lucky, innit?
Yeah. I'll go out of here like we won the lottery. No, but yeah. So that was when I kind of... And then I think when I first started being serious about it, I used to draw clothes and just tried... I thought I was going to design my auntie's wedding dress. Went a bit of a weird direction. But then, you know, when you choose your options in school, I chose textiles. And then from then, like, I think I was always quite ambitious with what I did. Like, I remember in my GCSE one, I did like a corset with boning and stuff, and we had to make a dress. So it was like, I always wanted to make like the best. And so, yeah, I was really into it. I had to get an A star.
Oh, well done on that.
Thanks.
But like, so obviously you grew up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Were there any influences in Liverpool that you can kind of think back to that made you at age 11 write those sort of things in your diary?
I know that when we were kids, we used to like go on when we had the internet, and you know, you could dress up people in outfits like the styling ones. I think that's where it kind of sort of began. And my dad was always really into fashion. Like, he was like into his brands. And then my mum, I think I had quite an interesting family growing up, because my mum was a punk in the Liverpool scene. So like, she used to hang around with the Clash and stuff, and she was quite eccentric in the way she dressed. Then my dad was and he still is now, like, takes a lot of pride. He's a Leo. Takes a lot of pride in his appearance, but like, he was really into brands and things. And when he used to take me and my sister a lot of the times, like, shopping with him to all his clothes shops. So I feel like maybe somewhere it came in there. And then obviously doing it in school, I think I really, really got into it. And then it was in A levels when we got those free periods that I asked my dad if he'd let his tailor. If his tailor would let me do work experience with him, like, in those free periods. And I think he had to ask a lot, because he'd been asked a lot, because it was just him and he worked on his own. And he ended up saying yes. And I ended up doing it for like 3 years with him, and made very, very nice friends.
Yeah, no.
He's like second dad. He's very nice.
No, that's good to hear, Ruth, man. And yes, I read about that in one of the articles I was reading. And I really wanted to speak about that, because I feel like when you're growing up, obviously we've all been teenagers before, young teenagers as well. It's like, it's not often that you care about something so much to the point where in your free periods where you're meant to be dossing, doing nothing, you'll go away and try and find, I don't know, try and pick up a new skill or something like that.
Yeah.
So at that point, do you feel like you loved fashion enough, or you're that passionate about fashion, that's what made you decide to go and do that? Or did you just want to make the most of your time?
No, do you know what's weird? Actually, I didn't actually want to do fashion at this point when I started working with the tailors, because he was older. Me and him were talking about basically me training up and taking over his
just being
tailors.
a tailor.
I wanted to be a tailor, and I remember I went to my auntie. Like, I feel like I've always had like big ideas, because I went to my auntie and I was like, okay, so I'm going to take it over, but we're going to renovate it, and then I'm going to have a ready-made thing, and then I'm going to do this, and then it's going to have this. Like, I've always wanted like this, like a big store or something like that. And then I think someone kind of said to me when we were thinking about unis in school, like, if you specialise in tailoring now when you're so young, you could get to 26 and like change your mind, and you kind of have to start again from scratch. Whereas if you do fashion in uni, you can come back to tailoring, you can use your tailoring skills, but you still got the fashion degree, and you like, while everyone else is going to uni, and I thought that was kind of like, I thought I had to just do it, and I just kind of went for it. And then I did my foundation art course in Liverpool, and then I carried on with the tailor there. And then I remember I was always one of those people in school where it was like, I'd do it, and I'd really want to do really well, and I'd set myself a big ambitious goal, but I would leave it all to the last minute. Like, my textiles teachers, I was a nightmare. Yeah, I missed out on the textiles prize, even though I got the highest mark in the year, because I wasn't consistent. And I'm still upset about that.
So what, did they not give it to you on purpose because because it was like, it's not a good example?
Because I did it all last minute.
That's not, I was gonna say that's not fair, but is it fair?
No, I got 98%.
Oh damn, you should have got that.
I'm still upset, but hey ho, I am where I am.
What did it exactly? What in different ways?
And then I think the fashion tutor in textile in college was kind of similar, because I think I'd set an ambitious thing and I'd love it, but then it just sketchbooks didn't make sense to me. Like, I had the idea and I was like, why do I have to do all of this working out to get to a place? And then I think when we were applying for unis, I remember applying to Kingston and every other uni sent me like a project. I think I got rejected from Liverpool uni because they wanted people that weren't from Liverpool. Makes sense, but I'm glad that I did. And then the others asked me for projects, and I thought, I can't be asked to do them. I was just like, I'm not doing extra work. And then Kingston was like, send images of your work. And I think my friends were I remember getting ready for a night out. I was ready first. I thought, I'll just send it. And I did. And then I got an interview and then I got in, and I was like, it's like fourth best in the world. And I remember going to my fashion tutor. I remember going, hey, Corinne, went to Kingston. She was like, Kingston? You? I was like, yeah. So it was kind of one of them things where it was like, I feel like my path just kind of unfolded.
Yeah. It actually sounds like that.
And everything from there kind of did that. So I think it was really weird. It was like, I think I've always knew I was meant to do it.
Yeah.
But I have this sort of like, I kind of felt like I was meandering. So I think when I came to like starting my brand, everything took off. I was just like, whoa.
Oh yeah, because you couldn't meander no more.
No.
Like
no, there's no more meandering.
Yeah. But do you know what? Sorry to fixate on the tailor point, but I just wanted to ask, like, what sort of things did you learn whilst you were doing the tailoring stuff and that? I don't just necessarily mean the physical skills, but did that teach you about like responsibility, how important it is, like certain things away from clothing that are important about fashion? Do you know what I'm saying? Like customer service and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was the tailors that I worked in was quite like, it was old fashioned, and it was just him, and it had been him for sort of 30 years, and he had his regular customers. And it taught me, customer service wise, I feel like I've kind of, in retail and things, that's where I've shone or whatever. I think tailoring taught me more so like little, actually I would say tailoring taught me like little tricks. Like I was really good at hand sewing, which can actually come in handy when you're doing things like fair trims or, you know, like little things like that. Customer service, I'm not sure.
But at least you learned something though.
No, I learned a lot, I think, and me and Ken had this. We got each other.
Yeah.
We'd stitch and bitch.
Yeah.
Basically.
You still chat to him? Yeah, you said he's like your second dad, so obviously.
Yeah. I think he's got a new tailors in Liverpool now.
Okay,
so.
nice.
I do go and see him every time I'm back. So
yeah, so we kind of went forward quite quickly.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
it's alright. Don't worry. So now
I'm meandering again.
It's just you. So now we're at Kingston.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, we're at Kingston. I didn't even know Kingston was like the fourth best fashion. Like
it was when I went.
Oh, that's.
I don't know if it is now.
Oh, you mean like on the league tables and that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or like reputation wise.
Okay.
Because I think Kingston was very good with industry links.
Okay.
Because they would, and it was more commercial. So like you'd have CSM.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and that were very experimental. Whereas Kingston was very like, it was quite commercial. We had second year, we did projects with brands and stuff.
Prior to Kingston, obviously he was in college and whatnot, and obviously he was talking about the projects you had to do and, you know, leaving things to the end. At that point, did you still not know whether you wanted to be a designer or not?
I think I knew I wanted to be a designer, but I think I also enjoyed like being a student and like being sociable. And I think with growing up in Liverpool and like, there's so much going on, like there's so much community, and there's like there's loads of music and art and things, and I think my dad was very involved in that scene, so he took me to like a lot of events that it got me more fascinated in people, and I always knew that I wanted to do something. I did love making clothes and I love designing clothes and things like that, but it was like, for me, it was kind of, it wasn't just always about making clothes. It was about creating a community, and actually, until I'm saying this now, I've not realized that's
the effect
that's how I saw it. Because sometimes I think that maybe I don't want it as much as other people, because you can see with some people it's like, my brand is blah, blah, blah. And I always thought it was a lack of confidence, but I think what it is it's like, it's not necessarily, I'm not driven by like fashion as such. Like I don't watch every fashion show and read every Vogue magazine and things like that. I would go out and experience life and see someone. Like I'll be the person that's like running down the street following someone and be like, oh, that's sick, I'm gonna recreate that. It's like it's more for me, I think fashion is more like it's a social commentary, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think even now in today's world where like the conventions of fashion are starting to change in the sense that it's not old fashioned anymore, no pun intended. And it's like with the rise of like streetwear and stuff where there's less rules, I think it's good to think like that.
Yeah.
But was there points in like your fashion journey where you felt like, I wish I thought like that?
Like I wish I thought like...
Very like fashion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think if I did think like that, people might... Maybe I would have got further, or at least tricked myself into thinking that like I really wanted it. Because sometimes it's like if you don't think about it in that way all the time, then you almost don't feel like you deserve it because you see everyone else being like that, if that makes sense. So like if you see everyone else like my brand this, then and then you don't, maybe it is confidence thing, but yeah.
But it sounds like you are confident though. Do you know what I mean? I'm
a confident person, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm also a critical person of myself.
Yeah.
So I can be, it's like I'll be really confident about something, and then when I think about other people seeing it, I'll be like, oh, but they're going to see this. Yeah. They're going to see that this is wrong. Yeah. It's like that perfectionism thing, isn't it? Where it's like, I know that stitch is there. And they're going to see it. So do I point it out or not?
So what was that like in uni then? In a sense that you were let's say a self-confessed like perfectionist. Like how did that affect your experience at university?
I think the way that I'll be a perfectionist was like, it's like I'd set myself such a high task or so much to do that actually sometimes I would not do it and put it off because it would be too much.
It's too much.
Yeah. And then I'd be kind of disappointed by how it was in the end. So I think this might happen maybe with like many creative people, which is when you look at something for too long, you have to look at things with fresh eyes. You have to come away and come back. And I think when I was in uni, because I didn't have loads of money, I found ways to make the collection myself. So like with the ads and stuff, like I screen printed it myself in uni for free. There was a gilet that had engraved Techo text all over it, and I found a machine, or like a charity in Liverpool, that it was like £15 a day if you engrave it yourself. And I sat there for 16 hours. Yeah. But if you would have got it per 4 hours in London, it was like £400. So it was like, to cut corners, you almost end up over it. Like, because I was very, very resourceful, but because of that, I viewed it as makeshift, where some people could get seamstresses and things like that. Yeah. I think I always had that kind of like lack mentality. And
do you think that affected your output in the sense of what you actually produced? Because the stuff you produced looks sick. Like, so are you kind of happy with what you produce in a sense whilst being resourceful?
I think overall, like I was joking to my friend on the weekend because I was like, my collection from uni is still not finished. Like some of the hems are still not finished, but it worked. Like it was, I designed what I wanted, and I think with that in particular, there was so much context behind it that it was kind of hard to not make something good, because I feel like the reason why maybe that it did do so well is because people actually resonated with the message behind it. Facts. Even if they didn't think they liked horror.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. And you saw in the notes that I sent you, I wanted to talk about all that stuff, so that's like the perfect segue. Yeah. So right now, what's the name of the killer? Because there was two. There was a Toxic Chainsaw Massacre, and what was the one before it?
So it was the Zombie Nation one.
Zombie Nation, yeah.
Yeah, so that Zombie Nation was kind of like it was so that was my uni collection, my graduate collection. And it was weird because when I was in first year uni, people would be like, oh, what are you going to do your final collection on? And I'd be like, I was like zombies.
Yeah, but was you saying it as a joke?
Like, yeah, and I had no idea. No, but I was, because I always knew I was, but like I just didn't know that like it would go this far, if that makes sense. And it was like the more, because basically the backstory is my brother's quite a bit older than me, and when I was younger, I think he used to try and scare me and my little sister and put horror films on. And I was so scared of them. I'm actually petrified of zombies, but like they fascinate me. It's like, it's, you know, with horror films, it's like there's a reason it's the highest grossing genre in the cinema. Yeah, because even if you hate horror films, you're going to go with all your mates to go and see Paranormal Activity, whether it's number 1 or number 7. Do you know what I mean? Because there's the intrigue. People like to be scared. They like to not know what's coming, and they like to, like, do you know what I mean? Even if exactly you think something's coming, it's like when someone's about to jump out and you're waiting for it, and you're like, but you don't know if it's gonna, and then it's a cat, or you know what I mean? And I think he was really like into the detective work behind all of, so he would research all these films and show me like ones that had been banned for 30 years, but he'd tell me the context, and that's where like I got really obsessed with Dawn of the Dead, because there's the George A. Romero films, so there's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
So they're what, like a trilogy or whatever?
The trilogy is probably the best, and then you've got kind of Land of the Dead, and it moves on, but it's kind of, it's like a running commentary of what was happening in America at the time.
And this was what, the late 70s?
So, well, the earliest one was 1968.
Bloody hell. And you watched it?
Yeah. Yeah. The original was black and white. They had the first black hero.
Oh, wow. In the film?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
Because basically George A. Romero, like, and it was like the women as well. It was, it shows basically from the first one, it shows the evolution of humans, but kind of takes the piss out of us. So like in the first one, in Night of the Living Dead, it's about the family. There's the stuff going on in the American family home, so like the dynamic between the dad and the women being like pathetic, and do you know what I mean? Like they can't do anything themselves, and then you get this female hero. And then in the second one, which was Dawn of the Dead, which inspired me, was there's all these zombies coming to an empty mall with no flesh in them, and they kind of make a joke and they say, she's like, what are they doing here, or whatever, and he's like, obviously this meant something to them in their life, basically taking the piss out of people, saying all they care about is shopping. Yeah, consumerism. So it's like, I love that thought behind it, and I think even in the Day of the Dead, it's like a woman on a military base, and she's basically being bullied by men, and there's just so many running themes of and there's always something going on in society, isn't there, that you can comment on. But also I feel like with that, because it had the humor element, I kind of really like that, and that's what I want to do with mine. It's like there's so many horrible things that happen in life, and or we're shown all the horrible things that happen in life because the media chooses to show us all of that. But like we need to just soften it, because the more you fixate on things that are bad, you're just gonna be upset all the time. And no one wants that. So if you can bring a little bit of happiness by printing something and add to them. That's what you did. But do you know what's so interesting about what you're saying? I love how like I love hearing about the thought that went into your early collections and whatnot. But my whole thing is like, it's one thing to think about this stuff, and it's like, it's so layered. Do you know what I mean? So like, what's the process of taking all that thinking, where it's like almost like a mind map? Here you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that, like into becoming clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your steps? Were you still able to meander and do that, or did you have to become more structured and say, I'm going to think about this for this garment, I'm going to think about that for that garment? What did you do? So what I did was, I wrote my dissertation on zombies. What was the question? Are zombies a metaphor for real life? Oh, that's sick. Yeah. Send it to me afterwards. I will. Yeah, I think I got first in that. Oh, nice. Yeah. But it's like, so what I did was take everything that George A. Romero does. So if he kind of mocks the living, or what's going on in society at the time by calling them zombies. Who's the zombies of today?
Okay.
And then that would be, you know, no disrespect, but like people who work 9 to 5, they've just finished school, they're not happy in the jobs or whatever. They just work to buy the latest iPhone. They go and queue up like zombies. Same with Supreme, like the Supreme jobs. Everyone does what everyone does, and it's like when I was in school, like the most embarrassing thing to do was to bring your lunch into school with an Asda or a Tesco bag. Like it had to be a designer bag.
Seriously?
Yeah, there was a Ted Baker phase at one point.
Which Ted Baker? Those plastic ones?
Like the little cardboard ones. Like there was a really cool shop called Open, and it had this circular door, and that was the bag to have your lunch in. But yeah, so it was kind of like to make the people who are really cool want to wear something that they wouldn't be seen dead in. If that makes sense.
It's almost like you're playing a joke on them, almost like.
Yeah. But then it kind of backfired on me, because then it was the people that actually wanted to wear it. No, the joke was not on me. But do you know what I mean? It was like, but I feel like because it was something that people recognised, like the Asda, the Tesco, whatever, even though it was kind of played with, it was like, people got it. Like it was a message, if that makes sense. I just then also was like British. It was like kind of about British sportswear, or like the iconic British things. So there'd be like a puffer jacket. There was like a trench coat. Everyone had like a jumpsuit, but they were all different. So they were kind of all zombies in their own right. But there was something different about them. So there was like some blue shirts, some white shirts, different texture.
Right now we're still talking about Zombie Nation, right?
The Zombie Nation one, yeah. And then
sorry Ruth. Yeah, you kind of alluded to it before, but just like honing in on the actual collection. That's all right. It's just fun. I like this. Just to hone in on like the actual collection. So what do you think? Yeah, what about it made it resonate with people so much? Because you know you made the point about the people that you weren't expecting to wear it or trying to make a joke about ended up being the people wearing it. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think resonated with them, or just the people in general?
I think the color palette. I think because it was kind of all one color, it can go either way. But I think also like the silhouettes of, you know, we've all seen a puffer jacket, but had we seen one in corduroy at that point?
No.
And no. I mean, no. And then like it was because it was so tonal and it was quite subtle that actually it was not offensive. Like it was, and it was like those big zombie drawings and stuff. Like they were my drawings. I thought they were crap.
But not to say I thought they were crap as well.
It's like a shit drawing.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like the Mike Myers face and stuff.
Yeah. But like, it was almost like, even though there was so many layers, I'd almost made it really simple. So there was a lot of context going on, but it appeared very refined. I would say.
Yeah, that's good. But that's mad though. Like, how does that happen though? Do you know what I mean? Because when you were like designing it and whatnot, did you think it would appear refined, quote unquote? Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, it wasn't finished when it was in Graduate Fashion Week. I did. There was something. Okay, that is a perfectionism thing. Like there was some things that I could have done differently. There was some things that I could have finished. But all in all, I feel like it just made kind of an impact. I think it was like the message thing as well, because there was one jacket that had like the cigarette box thing on it on the back, and it was like spending seriously harms you and others around you. And I think little things like that, it was like, it was done I did it in a way where it was like, people recognise it, like they recognise the logo, they recognise that cigarette packet back, but it was twisted into like kind of consumerism thing. And I think even though people spend their lives pretending it's not that deep and that they're not that deep, and oh my God, why are you being so deep? Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's a bit deep.
Yeah, not everyone. Yeah.
Everyone wants a little bit of a backstory, no, and everyone really wants to, like, you know, everyone likes a little hidden message.
Yeah. No, I had two questions from that. Yeah. My first one is, remember I told you we're gonna.
It's gonna be
exactly. So like, my two questions from that is, so everyone wanting the backstory and whatnot. Like, do you think that within fashion, from your experience so far, whatever, it's really important that brands, quote unquote, have a backstory when it comes to particular collections? And my other question, which is more personal to you, like, you are commentating on society, yeah, and the commentary you were giving is like a cynical, quite like negative commentary. Like, what were you going through at the time that was like making you feel like that to then go on to do your graduate collection on that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Hopefully you remember both questions, but if you don't, just ask for the second one. So the first one was, do you think it's important that brands have like...
Oh yeah. I think it depends on the brand, because and something that I've learned recently is that I'm not the only person that has a story to tell using fashion. And I think maybe brands get their story lost because they have to do it. They're forced to release collections X amount of times a year in that strategic formula or whatever. So I think that is brand dependent, whether they have to have context, but also because there's different approaches and different perspectives that people can have when it comes to like their work. For me, I like to find little things from that, something from society, something from a horror film, and something like this, and then mix it up and then make a story and like have some fun. And that's my little formula. And then I guess other brands have other ones.
Have different formulas.
Yeah, because some of them is to make money. Some of them is to be in fashion. Like I think it depends what your purpose is. And that's why I feel like that everyone can actually succeed, because everyone has a different angle.
I hear that. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Then the second one
was, how were you feeling at the time when you made this collection? And the reason I asked that, and I'll basically reiterate what I was saying before, like, not to say it's an overly negative assessment of society, but it is a negative assessment of how we are as a people right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at a young age of 19, 20, 21, like, why were you feeling like that? That's the time when you're in uni, you're meant to be having fun. Do you know what I'm saying? Getting drunk every day and whatnot. Like,
I did get drunk quite a lot. No. I think that I think basically that was the opposite to how I wanted my life to be. And that was something in coming from Liverpool, I think everyone is quite content. I shouldn't say everyone, but like people are very content with living that conventional life where they go to school, they either get a job, they go to uni, they stay in their city, they marry their childhood sweetheart, and they do the 9 to 5, that thing, and that is kind of like the opposite to what I wanted to do. Like that's like that's my idea of hell. Maybe not anymore. No, I'm joking. But then with the people queuing up thing, maybe, do you know what? Maybe it was jealousy. Maybe it was like because I couldn't afford to like wear Supreme, or I couldn't afford the latest iPhone. I remember like when I was doing my collection, like my laptop, I had to get my auntie and my dad to help me buy a new one because it was breaking and stuff. Like I wasn't poor. I'm not from that, but like I didn't get everything I wanted, and I've had to like kind of work for things, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe when I was younger I was a bit envious of those people, and so I thought I'll take the piss out of them. Yeah, and it made a sick collection. you got to keep taking the piss. Yeah. No, that's such a good point, Ruth. Yeah, and I like how you keep mentioning Liverpool, and obviously you spoke about just everybody being like the rat race and whatnot. Yeah, I think, and I said this to you before, like I wanted to speak about like the differences in what you experienced, like moving from Liverpool and coming to London, because that point is true for London as well. Do you know what I'm saying? When you get on the bloody, what's these lines, all these lines, Victoria lines and all these lines in the morning, we're all going to our 9 to 5s, we're all working. Do you know what I'm saying? But did coming to London kind of open your eyes to different ways of living? And like, did that kind of affect how you designed and how you were feeling and like just your fashion journey in general? I think there's a big, massive difference between Liverpool and London, and I actually find it very fascinating, which is, so in Liverpool, if you don't have that much money, you dress like you do, you drive a car like you do, and you have a massive flat screen TV. But where you drive it, like, it's all about showing, like, showy. Like, you want people to know if you've got money or not got money. You want people to think you've got money. Whereas when I went to uni in Kingston, I found it was the complete opposite. I was around people who went to boarding school, and like the difference in like rich people, I guess, in Liverpool is nothing like in London. And I think in like London, people who did go to boarding school and stuff, it's almost like the complete reverse of what Liverpool do. It's like they'll do anything to make it look like they don't come from money. So like they buy things from eBay, charity shops, and I find it fascinating actually, because it's like it's just two completely different mentalities, but they almost borrow from each other at some point. If that makes sense.
It does.
It's like what I was saying before about lads in Liverpool. They would go shopping in like proper hiking gear, and like they'd wear bear cows, and now
but it's like you're never going skiing or nothing like that.
No, but because that's their uniform, like that's what they all wear, because that's their fashion. And then it takes London are now doing wearing all of their hiking gear and what's it, how to
pronounce it?
Arc'teryx, like that's a thing now. But before it was like Under Armour and things like that. Like these weren't wearing a fashion, but wear, and then this is like a hardcore fashion thing now in London, and it's
crazy.
Like they're kind of so similar but so different
at the same time. And I quite like that.
I love it. I think it's fascinating.
It is really fascinating. So in terms of like, do you feel like Scouse fashion like influenced this particular collection anyway? Because I suppose like Scouse growing up in Liverpool and what you described about the difference in people working certain jobs and whatever, that influenced the collection and like the concept. But did the fashion in Liverpool influence the actual designs in any way? And if not, what did influence the designs?
The fashion in Liverpool definitely did influence the designs, because it was like I kind of chose items of clothing that I would see on guys in Liverpool, like a parka or like an anorak, like classic things that you'd seen before. And then with the Toxic Chainsaw Massacre one, that was like a combination of lads in Liverpool going fishing on the weekend. Because that's a thing. So that's why there was like the dungarees and like the fishing hat and things like that. Like it's like when you go to a charity shop and you buy something that's kind of a bit old fashioned and it shouldn't be good, but it's really good. Yeah. I feel like that's what I like doing, is like I would say I'm more inspired by vintage pieces and things like that than and trying to like recreate that in a really cool way than anything from now. Like I'm obsessed with like 70s ski wear.
Seriously, 70s ski wear? Yeah. Is that because of one of these films that you've watched?
No, I've seen this really cool beige one.
Oh, have you bought it yet?
No, I've got a picture of it. I'm going to try and read.
Okay, was it expensive?
No, I don't think so.
That's all right.
From the 70s.
Oh. But I was going to say, do you know what, Ruth? I quite like that, because obviously you were in university, you're in London, you're at a proper good fashion university. I suppose there would be pressure to appeal to particular types of people. Particularly, I don't know what the lecturers were like, but in most universities anyway, particularly like fashion ones, the lecturers tend to come from particular backgrounds and whatnot. So there would always be pressure for you to do what you think would impress them. But I can see how much of the collection and how much of your designs is literally you embracing your upbringing, embracing living in Liverpool. And for example, you made the point about you chose sort of the clothing that you would see when you're back in Liverpool and whatnot. But people in London are seeing it, not people in Liverpool. So like, I just want to say I like how authentic
I think that worked in my favour. I think it did.
It made it different.
Yeah. Like
sick.
Stand out maybe.
That's sick. So speaking of the collection still and like just what you did whilst in university, like what happened, because we were speaking about this off camera like before we started recording. It's like things just must have happened really quick.
Yeah.
And you proper weren't expecting it. So like what was that like? Like tell me what happened and how you were feeling at the time.
So when we did our collections, and then mine went into Graduate Fashion Week, which I wasn't expecting. Then in Graduate Fashion Week,
because you have to get chosen for that.
yeah, so it was like there were 40 in the year or something like that, and then the 20 people got selected by like unbiased judges who didn't know our names or something, and then mine was one of them, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah, and I remember like actually towards the end of making my collection, someone was like, yours is so wearable, and wearable in fashion design uni is like offensive, and I was like crying to my dad like, my collection's wearable and all this, and then actually it worked in my favour. Yeah. I am quite lucky. No. And then when I did Graduate Fashion Week, it then got selected for Best of Fashion, Graduate Fashion Week.
So that was another thing that you're like,
yeah,
what?
so I think there was me and like one other girl from my uni that were in the Best of.
Yeah.
And then from that, it got quite a lot of exposure. And then I think people thought that it was a brand. And then I interned for like a month, I think. And I was like, this is not for me.
Wait, interned where?
I was Holland.
Okay, and when you say this is not for me, what was not for you?
Interning.
Oh.
Or like working for other people as well.
Okay.
Like, I think because people had started to think I was a brand, because then I did the pause presentation. So that I took my collection there. And then I think from that, I was kind of like, I said to my dad, because I moved back to Liverpool for a little bit. And then I was like, I think I'm going to start my brand, Dad. And he was like, oh, Ruth, oh, I don't know. And I was like,
why was your dad?
Because I do have a habit of like doing things and then stopping.
Yeah.
Like I did that with guitar as well. Like I got to grade 5 or something and then stopped. And I was like, But yeah, I think he didn't realise, I think, that the response, because obviously also he's not on social media or anything like that. And this was only the beginning of Instagram, really. Well, from my view it was. I think I still used to post cute pics. Yeah, and then he was a bit like, you know, go for it, but you need to get a job while you're in Liverpool. And I was like, okay. And then I just thought, while I'm young and like there's a little bit of hype, I might as well try. But I didn't know where the hell to begin. Does that make sense? Like I had absolutely like no idea what I was doing. All I had was the samples that I'd made from uni that people kept wanting to borrow, and people wanted to buy it, and I was just like, but then I got
people wanted to buy the samples.
People just wanted to buy it because they thought that it was a brand. Yeah. And that was that in itself is kind of priceless looking back, for sure. Like, yeah, it was mad. And then I sort of got in touch with, someone got in touch with me, like a PR girl, and she lived in Amsterdam. She's really nice. And she was setting up, she had other brands that were more established. I think this is kind of where I was a bit like, so she had a few brands that she was looking after who had factories and they were making things, and she wanted to take me on and kind of took my stuff to Paris during winter or whatever. So she took the stuff there, and then I got a little bit more press, and then she was like, let's do Paris Fashion Week in the summer. And I was like, the thing is, I didn't really think of it being like, wow, this is amazing. I just thought, oh, okay.
Wait, so Ruth, let me pause you there, yeah? The reason why I wanted to pause you there is because, like, up until that point, like, you had success, don't get me wrong, in terms of, like, the collection done well. Obviously told me you won those awards in school and stuff, and obviously, but being in, like, a fashion institution, obviously Kingston University, at the time, did you not know the significance of Paris Fashion Week, or too much stuff was going on, so you were kind of, almost like your brain was just in a, do you know what I mean?
I was kind of, like, working, like, full-time or whatever. I was working in a store and doing my brand and like drawing t-shirts and like had a little studio. You know, like I just kind of didn't really think it was like, obviously I was stressed because I was like, I'm gonna have to make a collection on my own, but I also didn't think this is what it is. It's like it wasn't real. It was like it wasn't real to me because it was like, I'm just making things. I'm designing a collection and I'm making it myself, and I'm not thinking about
what you're
selling
doing.
it.
No, he's not thinking about selling
I'm not, because at this point I'd not really like offered anyone to buy it. I'd not thought about manufacturing. I just thought, oh, I'm going to make another collection. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that deep at this point. So it was like, I think I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to make it, because I had ideas of it. And then I'd met this graphic designer when I was in Liverpool and shared studio with him. And I did the Toxic Chainsaw Massacre thing, like just a little short small collection to take to Paris. And again, I was like sewing some bits while I was in the showroom.
What?
Yeah, but honestly, I think I did that in like a week. I made it in a week. 2 weeks if you include getting the embroidery done.
Flipping hell, Ruth.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I think at this point it was like I almost left things late because then I didn't have to overthink it.
And so it was like
So
a
it was like,
defense
I have to
mechanism.
do, I don't have a thing, I don't need to like, I don't have time to doubt myself. Or it would get to like the night before, like we made a horror film thing for the Chainsaw Massacre. Calvin Crash directed it. And it was like, until the night before then, I think I was like, oh my God. I sent my friend a picture and he was like, this is so scary. And I was like,
What, you thought was too scary?
well, no, but I was like, oh, I haven't even thought about whether anyone's going to like it because I like it. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you're like, this is my personality, now this is scary. Because it's like, you really put yourself out there.
Oh, okay. You mean scary like that?
Yeah, like, people might not like this. This could be awful, especially when you've done something that's gone quite well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was...
But sorry, Ruth. But what you did before was clearly you, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've spoken about that. Like, it was your love for horror films, your love for Liverpool. Do you know what I'm saying? It was coupled with your talent. Like, yeah. So, what was different between like the Paris stuff and the stuff you had put out before? They were both you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there was a bit more pressure on the second one because obviously it was a follow-on from something, but then the one before that, I didn't know what was gonna. I didn't know that was all gonna happen.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and the same way I didn't know, Septa would be at the top of the road.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of sounds like when a rapper has like a sick album, and then it's like their album does so well. Their first, what do they call it? Their freshman album or whatever.
Yeah.
And it performs so well, so then they've got loads of pressure for the second one. So then obviously they get in their own head and start thinking.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how you must have felt. But then, but the second one was a great success, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it was. And you mentioned Septa.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did so I've seen your clothes on Septa.
Yeah.
Dolla Sign. Was there anyone else?
Dua Lipa.
Oh, what?
Yeah, she wore a Halloween t-shirt.
Damn, who else?
Georgia Smith.
Yeah.
Omarion.
What? How the hell did he? What the hell?
I know, in his music video.
What the? How did you just see it on him?
No, someone borrowed a stylist borrowed my stuff and he saw it on the rail and was like,
I want that.
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah.
So at this point, Ruth, when things are starting to take off, like you're seeing, not to say that's the only signifier of a brand doing well, but I suppose celebrities
and
get
organically
it
as well.
Do you know what I mean? It means a lot. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at this point, did you know that Ruth Peterson was a brand?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think when you work, because I've obviously done like mostly on my own, I think your brain just does backflips quite a lot. It's like, what am I going to do? I think that's when I kind of decided to move to London, and because I felt like I needed to be sort of more in the scene and to try and get things out there. And then I thought it was kind of decision time then, because it was like I need to start making money from this and start selling products. So like everyone keeps asking to buy the ads to codes, so I need to get this produced so people can buy it. And then that was kind of the next stage. But I think because it was disjointed, I almost felt like I was doing everything wrong. But actually, in hindsight, looking back, there is no right and wrong way, I guess. Because I think when I released the As to Codes, because it didn't sell out in like 20 minutes or whatever, the brands at the time were doing, I felt I'd failed. But actually, I didn't pay for any advertising, and I sold them, like people bought them in Japan.
Bloody hell.
And it was like, that was big. Yeah. Like it was, and I think when it's almost like you kind of like, and then you don't ever get that moment to catch your breath and be like, wow, this is, I've actually done really well.
I was about to ask that, because I was going to say, like, everything you're saying, Ruth, sounds like you should have got to the point where you was like, wow, like I'm achieving something here. Like when did it, not to say, when did it stop feeling like a dream? Because I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for it to stop feeling like a dream. But I suppose in your case, it would have helped it to stop feeling like a dream, because then you would have started doing things in a more like structured way.
Yeah. I think because I was like kind of working at the same time as trying to run a business, and it was just me, I think maybe I could have asked for more help.
From who though?
I don't know, like hired someone.
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, no, I think you kind of, when you get used to being on your own as well, it's really hard to like divvy out other tasks.
Because it's like it's your baby, and as a perfectionist, you feel like you have to do everything.
Yeah, and then it's like, I think because obviously I'm trying to sell stock, then you're thinking, and then I should probably do another collection, and you know, time moves past, and I think people can be quite hard on themselves about it being not in this season thing, and you're not I think that's kind of, I lost my way a little bit there, and I kind of just was just like, this is just too much, maybe. I'm
gonna come back to that, Ruth, but what you're saying's got me thinking, because this was around what, like 2017 or something?
Yeah, to me, yeah.
Let's say you could transfer this story into like today's, like 2022. Do you reckon it would have ended differently? And the story hasn't ended, don't get me wrong, but paused. Like, do you get why I'm asking that?
Do you mean like do my graduate collection now?
Yeah, and like have the brand start taking off and whatnot? Because you mentioned the point about feeling like you need to stick to the seasons and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't remember like what the fashion scene was like in 2017, but I just know that for now in 2022, not to say there's less rules within fashion, but it seems like there's more space for people to do it their own way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I actually think that when I was doing it then, had I have known that what I was feeling and that uncomfortableness of feeling like I have to fit in and feeling like I have to exhaust myself to even be considered to be high up there. I have to get all of that done, and I can't just do what I want to do. I think, if I would have known that I could have just done what I wanted to do, then I wouldn't have stopped. It was that kind of thinking that you have to like, you have to fit into that. And I think because brands are doing things so differently now, then maybe I wouldn't have hit that hurdle.
Yeah. So it links to what we was kind of speaking about outside, but is that when you felt like you felt imposter syndrome then?
Yeah, I just think because I felt like I'd almost meandered through life, and sometimes I think people would kind of like, they make jokes, but like I am quite sensitive, like, you know, where it'd be like, I'd go out and have fun, and part of my research and stuff was to go out and experience life, and I'd get inspired by people when I go out, and I think sometimes because it might not necessarily looked as though I'd worked as hard because or I felt like I didn't work that hard, that it was almost like I felt like I didn't deserve it because some people work a lot harder than me, and sometimes I think it's you can kind of think that, you know, it's mad, like honestly, like the opportunities just like sometimes, I don't know, with me, like they just happen. It's mad.
As you were saying, almost like it's fate.
Yeah, like even the drop, like I took time out and I literally said to my mate, we were having a drink or whatever, and I was like, I feel like I need to like do something like on TV or film, or like just explain my ideas or my brand, and literally the next day I got a DM or something.
That is so weird.
But it's like, honestly, it's like you can't
make the shot.
No. And so it's like, I think now looking back and having conversations and stuff about it, and like, you know, really thinking about things, I'm just like, I'm obviously meant to do it, so I need to just get out my own head sometimes. And I think that's something I think if anyone is struggling or whatever, like that's something that is a big story. No,
honestly, Ruth, I'm happy you made that specific point at the end, because I'm sure there's so many people that think like this, man. Like, especially how you've been saying that they're being in your own head and whatnot, like thinking that people are looking at your stuff a certain way and having to be like I don't know if vulnerable is the right word, but I suppose when you're in fashion and so much of you is in your brand, that is a vulnerable position to put yourself in. And I don't think there's enough conversation around what that can be like for designers. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm happy that you're telling your story and people will hear that and be like, you know what? Ruth overcame that imposter syndrome or allowed herself to be vulnerable and is now, she's taken a break or whatever. She's gone on a job and now she's coming back and she's going to go on and achieve whatever she's going to go on and achieve.
I think it's like what we were saying about that
catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing. It's like, actually, when you think about it, if you want to catastrophize, then your biggest fear is to be vulnerable. And I think what you don't realise is actually by putting your work out somewhere when it means so much to you, that is being vulnerable in itself.
It is. It really is.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
so true. Yeah.
It's like, I've now cried. That's the thing. I've cried on national TV now. Yeah. So you know what? Come at me.
Yeah,
I'm a big baby.
Yeah. Wait, you cried twice, didn't it?
Quite a lot.
Yeah. A few times.
About a pair of trainers. That's it.
Is that no? I can't. I've messed up.
I'm done. I do.
Oh
I do. This is. I do have these like emotional. It's like it's a baby. Do you know what I mean? It's like the amount of weight. I think something that definitely is a goal is to get someone else to make my stuff for me because
for real.
Because honestly, like, it's an emotional
You're
battle.
so emotionally attached. But I think the level you have is what creates your best work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's you at the end of the day. As you said, it's like your baby, so you love it, you care about it, and you cherish it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a double-edged sword because you care about it so much and you cherish it so much. That's why there was points where you didn't want to put stuff out.
Yeah.
Because you were scared for what people would say about it. But the other side is you care about it so much, and I think it's the caring that needs to be coupled with the self-belief and the confidence that, you know what, I'm always going to love this. I don't care what people think. Do you know what I'm saying? So all those emotions needs to come together. And I feel like you're at that point now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's obviously what kind of led you onto the drop, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, I've took a break and I've got an opportunity and, you know, I don't know what on earth this is going to do. Like whether it's going to make me never want to do fashion again, whether I'm going to, you know, go and Strictly Come Dancing, which I'd love. Or like, you don't know what's going to happen. And I would rather not live in regret of not doing it. Same way when I decided to start the brand, it's like, I'd rather not get to like 45 and then be like, damn, I should have just done the brand.
Oh, imagine. That would eat up.
I was sitting there like working for Gap or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So Ruth, what was happening on the break then? And how long would you say that break was? Like, what did you get up to?
I went to Shanghai for a bit.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a crazy experience. I think it was like something that was amazing about that was obviously again meeting that amazing people and being in a completely different culture where people it's so different. It's like even though there's loads of money to spend on fashion, like it's ridiculous money. It's like everyone wears black and it's very branded and kind of just even like little things. Like we were all obsessed with the outfits, like the bin men wore.
Like stylish outfits.
There was it was just mad. Like it was a completely different experience that like I is invaluable. But we also went to visit factories and we went to like a trade show. So I think this was like the first time I really got to see what exactly like how you could do anything like this. You sitting at home like taking stuff to like an embroidery to get like a cool embroidery, and then there's like sequin things where you can do an image and then you brush it and it's a different way, and do you know what I mean? Like it was just like, whoa, there is a trim for everything, and it kind of just opened your eyes in that way. And then I worked for a bit. I think I've always had like an idea of how I want my brand to be, and it's what we said before about this mind map where there's like so much going on that it almost like numbs you out. So you're like, oh my God, I don't know where to begin. And picking up that momentum again, I think I found so hard because I'd want to do this and then I'd start this, but then I needed to do like a website and then I needed this. And I think I just hit a point where I was just like, I just need to just focus on one thing at a time. And so, yeah, I think that's
basically what happened.
Yeah, then COVID.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Bloody hell, that's basically like 2 years.
Which makes me feel better because it's like it's like when you see friends that you haven't seen or heard from before, then you feel really guilty because you're like, oh, I've been a terrible friend, but like no one did anything.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
So we can minus 2 years away from however long. Let's get rid of that.
Like no, okay.
But Ruth, so let's say somebody was in the position you were in the sense that you were kind of put off from doing what you feel like you were called to do because there was so much that you wanted to do.
It's like noise.
Yeah. So how do designers silence out the noise? Like what sort of things can, young up and coming designers do to I don't know, to get past that particular hurdle? Because I'm sure, because I've spoken to people that be like, yeah, I want to start this, I want to start that, but this, but that. And there's always so many buts. Like what would you say to those people?
Don't use the word but. For a start. It's a really bad idea. No, I think it's, for me, I'm obsessed with lists. I mean, like, I would write lists and then not do anything, but like, I think just maybe reach out to someone and ask for advice.
Okay.
Like someone that is in a similar situation or someone who kind of knows what, like, almost like an expert or a mentor. I think I could have really benefited from something like that, and I think that's something that you do get in university because you get your tutors. So I think that is one good thing about being in uni or whatever, is that you have the access to that. And I think if someone's starting that's not from that background, is to maybe just reach out and try and find something, or research as well, because I think you can have an idea and you can go for it and don't look at what everyone else is doing. So like, it's really easy now on social media because there's so much going on and there's so much noise, and that can almost put you off because you think, oh, I'm never going to get there, or I'm never going to do that. Don't look at what anyone else is doing and look at what you can do. Like your perspective. That's
sick. You know what they say? They say comparison is the thief of joy, isn't it? So,
it is.
Yeah, it really is.
All the joy.
Yeah, mate.
But it's interesting.
You don't have to tell us. Even running a podcast, like I was looking at other podcasts and we're thinking, wow, they've done this and they got this many views, but it's like,
it just makes you not want to. Yeah.
Yeah, do
and
you know what I mean?
like,
Makes you want to stop.
I think it's really easy to be like, it's also really easy to believe everything that you see, but actually everything is just a perspective.
Yeah, it's so true.
Because it's like you can look at a certain brand or a person and you think, wow, they're smashing it. Like someone would have said to me and said, wow, you're killing it. Like you've done this. And I'd be like, am I?
Yeah.
But it's everything's subjective and everyone has a different perspective of something. And if you get caught up on a view of like, what someone else is doing, then your view isn't of what you're doing, so you ain't gonna do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
the truth with Ruth.
The truth with Ruth, literally. So so obviously we got onto the drop. I love the show, by the way. Like as I said to you before, I loved just seeing fresh perspectives, you know what I mean? Fresh designers, different designs that I've never seen before. And of course, you know, we're streetwear people, we love fashion or whatever. We've had X Factor for years and Strictly and all these different things. It's about time we had like a fashion show, quote unquote. So well done for being on like the first season or whatnot. The main thing I wanted to ask regarding the show though is like, what did you learn from it? And the reason I ask that is because being in an environment where you're surrounded by other people on similar-ish journeys to yours, or just being with people that are in a certain place of their brand and want to do certain things within fashion and whatnot, it's not an opportunity you get very often. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, what was it like, and what did you value most about being on that?
Okay, so this is definitely the biggest thing that I learned was, so with fashion, I think everything is very separated and like, or appears it. So every brand is like, they've got their own thing. And I would always sit and think, you know, I've got my social commentary. Like I like to do this. This is my story of my brand. Like I felt like I was the only person that was using fashion to tell a story, because you sit in your bedroom and you think, this is my story and I'm doing this. And you know, I'm inspired by horror and you do. And then actually going and being put with like 8 other designers
Yeah.
who, when they talk about their brands, you're like,
You sound like me.
you're me, but your story is different than mine.
Yeah.
But you are using clothes to tell your story. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like we're all really, really. Even though everything looks very different,
You're
we're
so
all
unique.
so
So similar.
similar.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
on that, it really taught me that actually that whole thing of people don't help each other, or people shouldn't help each other, and it's like tunnel vision is bullshit.
It's bullshit,
because
yeah.
actually we all helped each other
You
in
did.
certain ways, and it was the complete opposite to any view that I think people in general have on fashion,
No,
which is
facts.
that it's catty and it's competitive. And yes, it is competitive, but we can all help each other. I think there is. I think I learned that I am very authentic, and I get very invested in all people being authentic. And I think finding the people on the show that I did made me just feel not like I was me on my own.
Yeah, and that's a good feeling, man,
Yeah.
because feeling like you're by yourself is I want to say shit. It's a rubbish feeling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially in a field like fashion, where, going back to what you were saying before about not knowing where to start,
Yeah.
you could have reached out to somebody, but you felt alone. Do you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
it's like, but now that you've got that community almost with the rest of the competitor, I don't want to say competitors, the rest of the people you met, the contestants, whatever.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like now,
Droplets.
yeah. Would you actually call yourself that?
That's what our little WhatsApp group is.
There's all of you lot in the group chat, yeah?
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
But
so
that's the thing, if we have any
Questions
now,
and
if I have
that,
any
yeah.
questions, or, you know, everyone's in different stages, like people have said, oh, come and work in my studio. Like it's just a little network, and it's like of people doing the same thing that usually you would think would never happen.
Yeah. See, that's sick,
Because you see music artists and things sharing each other's music, so why can't fashion people share their brands? It's like why wouldn't I put Missy's brand on my story? Just because she's doing something that I think is amazing and people should see doesn't mean that my brand isn't doing amazing and that people shouldn't see it. It's like we should do the same as
facts.
music.
No, that's you see that energy, Ruth? That's the exact energy we have. Like, we want to help facilitate a community where we can create group chats with, because as we were saying before, it can feel lonely. Do you know what I mean? So where do you think that perception comes from, though, of people within fashion feeling like they're in competition with everyone and they can't support other brands and whatnot? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's fashion is like it has always been an elite thing, hasn't it? It's been it's like, even in like the olden days or whatever, it was like if you had money, you had the best clothes and you got the best tailors and blah blah blah, and Bridget and all, you know. But then there was like the huge brands got created, you know, like Prada and Gucci and things like that, and it was about being the best and the quality, and about celebrity status, and like people really wanting to be something. And then I think as there got to be more and more brands, there was more competition, and then I think people, it's like, even when you're trying to do fashion, before you do it, everyone tells you, oh, it's very competitive, you know, and it's like, yeah, it is competitive. Like, everything is competitive.
Exactly. We're in a capitalist world. Like, you can't not be competitive.
And I think, I mean, some people did act in the way where, like, you could ask them, oh, where'd you get this fabric from? And they'd be like, I'll tell you. Like, it can be quite secretive, or it appears secretive, because it's like, you only see the end result and the perfection and the end. You don't see the blood, sweat and tears that go into it, and we don't see any of this. So we put it on this big pedestal, and then that point is so interesting, because I was speaking to one of my best mates not too long ago, and he was speaking about getting into fashion and whatnot, and he was saying, like, brother, it feels like a secret. He literally said it feels like a secret, and I'm like, and I think it comes back to what you were saying, in the sense that, not say it is a secret, I'm not saying that, but people don't really show the process. They only see the end product. So therefore, people literally feel like, rah, like, am I just not meant to know what happens before that garment's on a rail somewhere? Or am I not meant to know what happens before that hoodie is on every man and his dog? Do you know what I'm saying? But I do like everything you're saying, because I feel like we're reaching a point where people within fashion are becoming a lot more open, particularly because of the fact that, like, British fashion
is becoming more of an export. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So it feels like there's more space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I hope there is more space. In fact, I believe there's enough space.
It's like everyone technically, if they want to be, can be rich.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Money is a mind.
Have you read The Secret or something?
Mate, I've read every single spiritual book under the sun. I swear to God, literally. Spent the last year reading them. But
did it help, though?
I'm a better woman for it.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Yeah, no, because I think it also just helps you sort of, I think as you get older in life, I think you get to this, well, I got to a point where I was like, you're trying to relive the past and you're trying to be like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And actually, it kind of helps you to be like, you know what, I didn't do that, and this is what I learned, and then this is what I do. And it would have been great if I was like 23 and I had like amazing skin when I was like releasing a new collection. But you know what? It's not that deep. Like it's not that. It's not the end of the world. I think. Yeah.
Just gotta look ahead, man.
Yeah, and there's like you can't change anything, so you just gotta keep moving and you know read spiritual books.
The Secret. Read The Secret. I've never read it, by the way. I've never read it.
I've not read it. I've watched the film, but I've read other ones.
Is the film good?
It's a bit, it's cheesy.
Okay.
But you know what? Who doesn't like? Well, I hate cheese, but like, who doesn't like a little bit of it's uplifting?
Okay.
And like you do learn, and it is true. Like, it's mad, especially for someone who's like me and it gets an opportunity the next day. I must be very aligned.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
But that's what you said happened is actually mad. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, Ruth, I think Ruth, how can I say Ruth? Ruth. What, you like that?
Ruth. It's actually a sewing technique.
Is it? Ruth?
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, I like the way you think, because I suppose that's what's kind of led you to start your podcast.
Yes.
The guys, Ruth, maybe by the time this episode is out, Ruth would have had her podcast out. So make sure you watch it. It's going to be called Truth with Ruth. We'll put the link in our bio and whatnot. But yeah, so why did you want to start that? What can we expect?
I think it was kind of being... I've been saying this apparently since Shanghai. We've been like joking, saying Truth with Ruth, because sometimes I can be like... I like to do my research. I like to tell people the facts, and I also like to do my interpretation of it. And I think with what I've learned, especially from being on the drop and like taking a bit of time out, is that there's certain hurdles that you hit. Well, that I definitely hit when I was setting up my brand, and I think people don't share this. It's like what we said about the finished product. It's like you only see the perfectionism, and I think I think people have a right or should be able to learn about, like, it basically offers advice for young people, or not. No, hang on, you're gonna have to crop that bit. It's
wait. Why can't you say young?
Because it's for anyone. It's universal.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I mean, ageist over here. No, it's like, so kind of what I would view as the hurdles that you hit when starting a fashion brand, and then having an expert's advice, so that, you know, if you want to start a brand or people want to start a brand, then they can. There's information. It's like, I think one of the most important things is definitely the copywriting, because you see a lot of people calling people out on Instagram, you know, for people copying their work, and I think it's really good for it. I feel like I would have benefited from it, because I had to go and see a lawyer. I think I want to help people.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I'm happy you want to help people, Ruth. That's the same thing we want to do. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though we're not in fashion, quote unquote, I don't have a brand or nothing, but I felt like people needed help, man. And sometimes I feel like the best way to help people, or the most accessible way to help people, is just sharing a story. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, whether you know it or not, Ruth, like, there's going to be a few people listening to this that are going to be like, wow, like, I needed to hear this conversation, like, right now at this exact point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I've had that moment where it's like, or like you read a random page of the book and you're like, whoa, that is so relevant to now. It's like,
it's like horoscopes, isn't it?
But it's like sometimes you just like, whoa.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, like I've had really sore ankles the other day, and I listened to a horoscope and it said something about my ankles. I was like,
no, that is weird though.
Yeah, but like sometimes you just like you need that bit of advice, and if you can help people, or even just like if someone can just, you know, I'm going to make it really stylish. I'll wear my products and stuff.
Yeah, I like the setup as well. The setup.
Yeah,
really
like
stylish,
it's just, I think, I don't know where it's going to go. It's going to start with advice for like startup fashion brands, but then like it could be anything. I think I definitely want to keep a film element within my collections and things like that. So it's a good start, and it's kind of, I think now that I'm being open and vulnerable and talking about my brand and things like that, I think that this is my way of doing my brand, and you know, fuck the seasons.
Yeah, man, and I think it's a sick way, and I think time is going to show. Yeah, facts, and I think time is going to show what a good move it was to do something like that. Not to say you're thinking strategically, I'm not saying that. You genuinely just want to help, but this is going to benefit you also in the long run, just letting you know. But aside from the podcast, like, what can we expect from Ruth though? Like, I want to see your new stuff, because Deep Ruth, you've done a lot of growing since that last collection, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know what to expect.
Well, I know. Well, it's going to happen quick actually, because I've got I'm doing a fashion show in Lithuania at the end of June or early July, so I am actually in the process of creating a 10 look collection, which is long awaited, so it's pressure, but I'm like, this is good pressure.
Seize the
now.
day.
You know what I mean?
Diem.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And if not, we can fall back on free. No, I'm joking. Isn't it? I'm not catastrophizing. Like, no, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be sick. No, it's gonna be sick. Ruth, like, I'm proper excited to see it, man. And yeah, man, what can I say, Ruth? Like, there's been a sick conversation. It's been really nice. I didn't want this to stop, but did you see Rash show me the phone? He said 10 minutes. So had to wrap up. But thank you again, Ruth, for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. I feel like it's been very emotional.
It has, isn't it? It has. It's actually coming like Diary of a CEO. I thought you were going to start crying. Have you seen
No.
Have you seen Jessie J's episode of Diary of a CEO?
No, but do you know what's really weird? Like, even though I cried on the TV show, like, I don't ever cry for months. Like, I have to watch Marley and Me or something to like have a release.
Seriously?
Yeah, so yeah, I don't cry that much, but like, I speak emotionally.
Ruth, the way we end every episode is we just ask a simple question. If you could give like one piece of advice to any up-and-coming designer, anyone that wants to get into fashion, what would it be?
Watch Truth with Ruth.
Oh, other than that.
That's so bad. Watch my new podcast. No. Any advice? Research.
Everyone says that, you know.
Research, and if you don't know where to start somewhere.
I like that. That might be the name of the episode, you know, if you don't know where to start. But that's real talk.
It is.
That's actually real talk. You have to start somewhere. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
if you don't know where to start somewhere, because otherwise you will never start.
Exactly.
Because it'll just all be in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
From me.
Yeah, you done well. Hey, Ruth. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. This was actually a sick episode, Ruth, man. It was proper sick, I can't lie. Yeah, Ruth, so where can they find you, man?
What, do I have to put my Instagram handle?
Yeah, what, are you scared? You've been vulnerable enough, Ruth. Like, this is nothing.
Ruth Peterson _UK. I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep the Ruth is Coco's Ruth is Coco, but it's been like that since day one.
Yeah, keep it like that, man.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? Ruth is Coco?
Yeah, it's because I love the sunbeds.
Wait, what does the cocoa have to do with sunbeds?
It makes my skin coconutty. They put the cocoa butter on.
I was thinking, what? Is that a brand of sunbeds or something? But
everyone says you smell like coconuts when you come on.
So follow Ruth is Coco and Ruth Peterson _UK. And you know where to find us, all the handles and that in the bio and whatnot. But yeah, as I always say, keep it locked. If you ever want to take in future episodes on the go, you can also find us on Apple Music and Spotify. When you get there, please, if you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review and whatnot. It will definitely help. And yeah, as I always say, keep it locked.